Productive Dentist Academy podcast network.
Many of us don't get to do near as much of that as we'd like to because we're lousy leaders. And there's ways you can get better. And I promise you, because I worked really hard to become a better leader. And when that happens, all of a sudden you find that, hey, your team is doing the work. You're actually following them around.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bruce B. Baird, and you're listening to the Productive Dentist Podcast. In this podcast, I will give you everything that I've learned over the last 40 years in dentistry, working with thousands of dentists. I'll tell you, it's not that my way is the only way. It's just one that has worked extremely well for me, and I'd love to share that with you so you too can enjoy the choices and lifestyle that productivity allows. More time for things you love, increased pay, better team relationships, and lowered stress. Let's get into it with this week's episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.
Well, my name's Dr. Bruce Baird with the Productive Dentist Podcast, and I've been getting lots and lots of questions recently, and one of the questions really I broke down several of the questions into what I would call team issues, because it's always amazing to me, and I've been there, where I'm complaining about my team, if I could just get the right team. And usually what I found out eventually was if I could just get the right leader, and that was me. But that's a whole nother podcast, so we'll talk about that later. But what about, and I've had people come up to me during the seminar that we're doing and ask me, can you help? Can you talk to my doctor? And, the fallout that happens when your team cares more about the practice than you do. That is pretty much a recipe for disaster. And I will tell you, people want to be successful. They want to come to work. They want to be productive. They want to do a great job. They want to enjoy their job. And, for the first 15 years in practice, you guys have heard me talk about the smiley face, frowny face. And I go, what is that? It was up in the break room. And they said, well, smiley face is when you walk in and you're happy. Frowny face is when you walk in and you're not happy. And I'm like, really? So, I cared about the practice, but just the stress of debt, the stress of having loans for the practice, the building, the equipment, and everything else, and really not having the knowledge to be a great leader at that point, stressed me out. And so it seemed as though I didn't care, but I really cared, but I just didn't know how to express it. I didn't know how to express that in the right way. We work with offices all the time where once the doctor understands the problem is them, all of a sudden you can begin to make little small steps. It's not going to happen overnight, but small steps over a period of 2 years or 3 years. And all of a sudden, because what happens when the team thinks you're not caring about the practice is then they don't care. And you're really fighting a losing battle. So we help you kind of wrap your head around running a business, because most of us did not have a really great business class when we were in dental school. There's a lot more to dentistry than doing root canals and crowns and fillings. And I say that in all honesty because many of us don't get to do near as much of that as we'd like to because we're lousy leaders. And there's ways you can get better. And I promise you, because I worked really hard to become a better leader. And when that happens, all of a sudden you find that, hey, your team is doing the work. You're actually following them around. They understand what's going on. The other thing is an importance of a strong onboarding and structured training program for each role in the practice. We work with dentists for the last 20 years, setting up their SOPs, their standard operating procedures. I found that the most important thing that I could do with my team was to actually train them the way I wanted it done. As opposed to, early on, I hired a dental assistant. I expect them to know how to be a dental assistant. And they do, but they don't know the things I do. They don't know the things I like. They don't know what my philosophy of care is. And that's one of the things that is extremely important, is determining your philosophy of care. How do you do, onlays, inlays? How do you do fillings? And training that chair side exactly how that should be done. That goes to the front office, a structured training program for how do we answer the front? How do we schedule people? What are the questions that we ask from the front desk? And this is all can be put together in an up-to-date employee handbook, along with clear job descriptions. It's critical that we do that. Nobody taught me that, so I had to learn it as we went. But in other businesses, they have standard operating procedures, and we need to have the same, because without clear descriptions of what you expect, guess what? You'll be disappointed, but the team will think they did it the right way. And so when you're disappointed, guess what? Frowny face comes out, team leadership goes down, and it's all about training. I've told this at the seminars for years. I wouldn't be the dentist I am today without my team. I wouldn't be the dentist I am today without my lab, my phenomenal lab that I've worked with, laboratory up in Kansas City, and other labs too. But I wouldn't be the dentist I am today without communication, without describing the way I want it done. Many of us, guess what we do? Oh, I'll just do it myself. I'll make the temporaries. I'll pack the cord. I'll do everything. Why? Because I know how to do it. Well, why not train your team how to do it? Guess what? Your chair side, they like doing a lot of stuff, even more than suck and spit. Can you imagine that? They want to schedule their patients. They want to follow up with their patients. They want to take great care of people. And when you have a team like that, all of a sudden, guess what? Productivity goes up, and that changes everything. One of the other questions is, and I get this all the time, I've got a team member, they're not doing this, they're not doing that, but they're really good. They know everybody in town. What do I do? The cost of hanging on to one team member that's not in alignment with your core values or your clinical philosophy, guess what? It destroys your business. It destroys your business. I've seen office managers where a dentist came in, bought the practice, the office manager remained, and they're the biggest, that particular individual was the biggest setback for that young dentist or medium-aged dentist or old dentist, because they had their own way of doing things, their own philosophy. Don't tell me how to change. I know how to do this. I know how to do that. The team is afraid of them, and you're afraid to fire them because they know all the patients. Trust me, you're okay. Invite them to go to their happy place. But first, give them the opportunity and pull the leadership skills that you need to pull to say, Mary Lou, you and I need to have a conversation because this is the way it's going to be. This is the way I want this stuff done. I know you have a lot of experience, and I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your help. But now that it's my business, and it's my debt that I'm paying off, and it's my practice now, I want you and I to be on the same page. Does that make sense, Mary Lou? And if they're going to say yes or no, I don't see them saying no, but I see them saying yes with that pause. Yeah, okay, whatever. If they say yes, now what you've done is you've opened the communication. You say, this is the way I like it. And what you do is you then expect it to be done this way. How is that? Well, a lot of when you're first doing a startup or when you're first in practice, maybe you don't know all the ways. Well, that's what Productive Dentist Academy does. When we help docs get their handbooks, their employee handbooks, get all of this stuff done. And that makes all the difference in the world. So if they're not in alignment with you and they're not, and you give them 2-3 months of training and talking to them and asking for their help, and if they still do it their own way, that's what I say, inviting someone to their happy place, because they're obviously not going to be happy in your business, and it's time to allow them to go to their happy place. I had a hygienist who suffered with bipolar depression. And one day she would be in the greatest mood, and the next day she would not be. And I kind of was in the same boat. I would come in a great mood and not so. I finally, in January one year, and she'd been with me, and we were friends. I mean, I really liked her, but the team just couldn't deal with her because she would be great one day and lousy the next. It cost us in productivity. And one day I asked her, it was first part of January, and I said, I think it's time for you to find a different place, to find a place to be happy. And she said, are you firing me? And I said, well, no, I'm just inviting you to go to your happy place. Find a place that's happy. And by golly, she left. She was mad and tried to slam the door on me. And I was like, no. I had the office manager in there with me. And 3 years later, she came back and she had found her happy place. And she said, thank you, because I would have never left. And that is not only great for your business, it's not only great to do that, but it gets rid of a virus that's going to spread from team member to team member to team member. And if you see somebody that is a real detriment in a practice, and when I go through and look at practices, they always have built themselves up as indispensable. Truth is, no one's indispensable. Hear that clear. No one is indispensable. And so it's really critical that we are on the same page. We have the same core values, the same clinical philosophies, and it's going to be up to our leadership skills to, take it to the next level and to invite people to their happy place if they need to go, to train the new team members the way you want it done. If you don't know the way to do it, if you don't know how to do that, then that's where we'll help you. That's where a new program that we're doing now called Clinical Calibration Institute. It's, we train your front office, we train your chair side, we train your hygienist, we train your associates, we train you on ways to come in alignment, so that everybody knows our practice is clinical philosophy. And when you do that, productivity goes up. The cost for clinical calibration is like somewhere between $695 and $995 a month. Oh, that's a lot, Bruce. Yeah, but that's for the whole office. That's not per person. That's for the entire office. It's less than the cost of a crown. And what I will say is you will see an increase in your productivity. You're going to see an increase in your satisfaction. You're going to see a decrease in your stress. And the combination of those things allows you to live the life that you've always wanted to lead. And I'm super excited about the new program. You can go to productivedentist.com and look at Clinical Calibration Institute. And you can send me a message, Bruce at productivedentist.com. These are the things that make the difference. We're only on this planet for a short time. Let's enjoy what we've chosen to do for our life's work. Let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy the people that we work with. Let's enjoy our patients. Let's enjoy doing top-notch dentistry. Let's enjoy doing comprehensive exams. Let's enjoy taking great care of people. Remember, I only have 2 goals: take great care of people. Number 2, reach my goals. And that's it. All right. That's the end of this episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. You can send me messages at Bruce at productivedentist.com. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I look forward to our next time together.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you subscribe. Pass it along to a friend. Give us a like on iTunes and Spotify, or drop me an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. Don't forget to check out other podcasts from the Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentistpodcast.com. Join me again next week for another episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.